Hi, I'm Rachel Scott with YYOGA, and this is common mistakes in forward folds. So the yoga practice has tons of forward folds, right? We're always stretching the backs of our hamstrings. But sometimes, if we're not careful, we might be missing the benefits of the pose. So here we go. So when we're doing a forward fold, first things first is that sometimes we tend to do those forward folds in our back, like this, right? Rather than really stretching the backs of the legs. So when we're doing a forward fold, what we want to target is usually stretching the backs of the thighs at first. So here's a tip. If you find yourself rounding through your spine, instead, bend your knees, keep your spine nice and long, and then with the spine nice and long, gradually work to stretch your legs to straight. So we can really target the stretch in the hamstrings. Now, eventually, yes, we are going to round our spines a little bit in forward folds for sure, but we just don't want to do it all there, right, and start from here. Another common mistake in forward folds is hyperextending the knees. So let's say we're doing pyramid pose, for example, right, where I have one foot forward and the other foot back. It can be very common here, and I don't really hyperextend, so you might not see it on me so much, but to let this knee move past straight. Right, so whenever I'm forward folding on a straight leg, if you have hypermobile joints, you might just tend to sit back in the knee. That's not so great for the knee joint over time, and it also tends to disengage the legs. So one thing that you can think about when you're forward folding is softening the back of the knee slightly, engaging the front and the back of the leg, even though you're stretching it. When I do a forward fold, I have one foot forward. I think about pushing into the front of my foot more, because if I push into the big toe mound of my foot, that actually tends to make my knee bend a little bit. One other trick that I like to think of is pressing the top of my shin slightly forward. So when we hyperextend, we tend to push it back. So when you're forward folding over your legs, you can think, hey, press this little bump right below my knee, press that slightly forward, that'll engage your legs, and then continue your forward fold from there. And that's a way that you can protect the knees. And something that goes with this, and this is sort of specific to this pose, is that when we tend to forward fold, if we're hyperextending, we might think of like jamming the knees back, we'll tend to put the weight in the heels. So check in with the weight on your feet when you're forward folding and make sure it's also in the toes. We see this a lot in the wide-legged forward fold. You have people with their hips way behind their ankles. So instead, bring the weight into the toes so you have weight on all four corners of your feet and your hips are more aligned over your ankles. So there you are, some tips for forward folding, right? Keeping the spine nice and long, so you really focus the stretch into the backs of the legs, avoiding hyperextension by softening the knee, and then also keeping the weight in all four corners of your feet, or even a little bit more into the big toe mound.